In an era dominated by live-action remakes and sequels, it's easy to forget the times when Disney boldly ventured into uncharted creative territories, pushing the boundaries of animation and storytelling in innovative and daring ways. While blockbuster franchises like Pirates of the Caribbean went on to become global cultural phenomena, marking a new era of Disney's commercial dominance, many ambitious projects, including the 2002 animated sci-fi adventure Treasure Planet, unfortunately flopped at the box office. This failure not only cost the studio millions, but also cast a long shadow over the creative enthusiasm within Disney's animation department, causing hesitation and a more cautious approach to future ventures. Despite receiving generally positive critical reviews and cultivating a devoted cult following over the years, Treasure Planet initially struggled to find its audience, surprising many industry insiders and fans alike, given its groundbreaking blend of traditional hand-drawn animation with cutting-edge computer-generated imagery, as well as its compelling narrative that reimagined a classic literary tale in a futuristic setting. This article delves deeply into the film's long and winding journey from concept to release, thoroughly examining the multifaceted reasons behind its commercial underperformance, ranging from missteps in marketing strategy, poor timing, and unmet audience expectations, to the complex internal dynamics of the studio at the time. It also reflects on the lasting artistic impact of Treasure Planet, highlighting its unique contributions to animation techniques and storytelling that continue to influence filmmakers. The project's origins trace back to 1985, when visionary animators Ron Clements and John Musker first pitched a bold sci-fi adaptation of Robert Louis Stevenson's beloved novel Treasure Island to Disney CEO Michael Eisner. Although their earlier work on The Little Mermaid received quick approval, the initial pitch for Treasure Planet was rejected, reportedly due to concerns over a rumored Star Trek sequel with a similar premise that never actually materialized. Undeterred by these setbacks, the creative duo continued refining their vision, and following the massive success of The Little Mermaid in 1989, they pitched Treasure Planet twice more. Each time, however, they faced rejection, which led them to contribute their talents to other major Disney projects, like Aladdin and Hercules, both of which were critical and commercial successes that greatly enhanced their reputation within the industry. Feeling increasingly frustrated by the repeated refusals, Clements and Musker decided to bypass the studio head Jeffrey Katzenberg and directly appeal to Roy E. Disney, who was known for supporting innovation and artistic risk-taking. Roy Disney championed the project and persuaded CEO Eisner to finally approve it. Katzenberg, however, agreed to greenlight Treasure Planet only on the condition that the duo first deliver another hit film, which led to the development of Hercules. After Hercules' overwhelming success, Treasure Planet finally entered full production, embarking on a challenging but ultimately artistically rewarding endeavor that showcased Disney's willingness to experiment with new visual styles and narrative approaches, even in the face of commercial uncertainty. The screenplay for the film was a collaborative effort, with Ted Elliott, Terry Rossio, and Rob Edwards joining in to craft the story. The cast featured Martin Short as Ben, Emma Thompson as Captain Amelia, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the lead character Jim Hawkins. For the role of Long John Silver, several notable actors were considered, including Christopher Plummer, Jim Broadbent, Sean Connery, and Jack Palance, before Brian Murray ultimately secured the part. Similarly, Jeff Goldblum and Hugh Grant were in the running for Dr. Delbert Doppler, a role that eventually went to David Hyde Pierce. The movie utilized a unique blend of traditional hand-drawn 2D animation layered over computer-generated 3D animations and environments, with Long John Silver's character being a particularly innovative hybrid of these techniques. This pioneering approach was groundbreaking at the time, but also contributed to the film becoming one of the most expensive traditionally animated movies ever made. With an estimated budget of $140 million, equivalent to about $250 million in 2025 dollars when adjusted for inflation. To put this in perspective, the cost to produce one Treasure Planet could have financed approximately 17.5 productions of Hoodwinked. Disney invested heavily in marketing, partnering with brands like McDonald's, Pepsi, Dreyer's, and Kellogg's, and released a wide array of merchandise including toys, action figures, novelizations, and several video games. Additionally, the soundtrack featured a notable song by John Resnick, the frontman of the Goo Goo Dolls, which became a hidden gem. Interestingly, many animated films from this era boasted exceptional soundtracks, such as Brother Bear, Tarzan, Spirit, and Over the Hedge, which all received praise for their music. Despite a massive marketing budget estimated at $40 million, bringing the total investment to around $180 million, the film faced immense pressure to succeed financially. Upon its release on November 27, 2002, Treasure Planet earned a disappointing $12 million during its opening weekend, or $16 million over the extended Thanksgiving 5-day period, debuting at number 4 behind Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Die Another Day, and The Santa Claus 2. Domestically, it grossed $38 million, with an additional $71 million internationally, culminating in a worldwide total of $109 million, far short of recouping its massive budget and resulting in an estimated $75 million loss, which would be roughly $135 million when adjusted for inflation. Despite this financial failure, the film received generally positive reviews and was even nominated for an Oscar for Best Animated Feature, though it lost to Spirited Away, a comparison that often feels like an uneven match, akin to a hydrogen bomb facing a coughing baby. On Rotten Tomatoes, it holds a 68% critic score and a 73% audience score, while on IMDb, it has a rating of 7.2 out of 10, and on Letterboxd, it stands at 3.9 out of 5. Over time, Treasure Planet has cultivated a respectable cult following and is frequently regarded as an underrated classic. Reflecting on the film's theatrical failure, several factors come to light. Foremost, its status as the most expensive traditionally animated film made, breaking even a formidable challenge. Moreover, the marketing campaign failed to effectively convey the film's tone or themes to potential audiences. For instance, one TV commercial infamously spoiled the main villain's twist and was edited in a style reminiscent of contemporary Mr. Beast videos, which may have undermined viewer anticipation rather than building it. On November 27th, audiences were invited to embark on an unexpected adventure as 3 unlikely heroes, Jim Hawkins, Dr. Doppler, and Captain Amelia, confronted the universe's most ruthless cyborg, John Silver, in Disney's ambitious sci-fi animated film, Treasure Planet. Comparing its marketing to Disney's other 2002 release, Lilo and Stitch, reveals the multifaceted challenges Disney faced in promoting Treasure Planet effectively. One of the primary reasons for its financial underperformance was its failure to connect with female audiences, a demographic that Disney traditionally engages through relatable and empowering female leads. The film featured only 2 notable female characters: Jim's mother, Sarah Hawkins, a caring yet peripheral figure, and Captain Amelia, a strong, assertive, and capable leader who nevertheless remained a secondary character within the narrative. This limited female representation meant the film lacked the kind of robust, multidimensional female protagonists that had been a hallmark of Disney's past hits, such as Ariel, Jasmine, and Megara, who provided young girls with characters to identify with and admire. Directors Ron Clements and John Musker, celebrated for their work on The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and Hercules, had consistently featured strong female protagonists or significant female characters, creating stories that resonated widely across genders. Their absence in Treasure Planet created a noticeable void that arguably diminished the film's appeal to female viewers, who found fewer emotional entry points into the story. While the presence of a romantic subplot does not guarantee a film's success, it often offers young female audiences an important emotional connection and narrative depth. Historically, Disney animated films have struggled to attract young male viewers, who tend to prefer live-action adventure films like Pirates of the Caribbean, which blend action, humor, and relatable young adult heroes. In their effort to broaden the film's appeal to boys, Clements and Musker may have overcompensated by skewing the film too heavily toward action and sci-fi elements, which might have inadvertently alienated families and female viewers seeking more balanced storytelling. John Musker himself noted the particular challenge of attracting fathers and boys to animated features, stating, "Men are the hardest ones, I would say, to get to come." Additionally, he reflected on how the post-9/11 cultural climate made a story featuring an armed takeover more sensitive and perhaps less inviting to general audiences. Writer Terry Rossio argued that aging Jim Hawkins from a boy to a young man lessened the story's dramatic tension and innocence, softening key moments that hinged on youthful vulnerability and the coming-of-age experience. However, I respectfully disagree. As I discussed in my Sorcerer's Apprentice video, children often connect better with older protagonists who offer a more mature, relatable perspective, exemplified by Pirates of the Caribbean's young adult hero, Will Turner. The real issue, in my view, lies in Jim's characterization. He is brooding and introspective, internalizing his turmoil rather than expressing it outwardly, which likely hindered audience engagement and emotional investment. This reserved character development made it more challenging for viewers to connect with Jim's struggles and growth, ultimately affecting the film's reception and long-term legacy. These insights are my personal observations based on the film's narrative structure and audience response patterns. During the period when Hollywood was shifting from predominantly 2D animated films to 3D animation, Treasure Planet found itself caught in a challenging wave of underperforming 2D movies, alongside titles like Titan AE, Atlantis: The Lost Empire, Home on the Range, and Sinbad: Legend of the Seven Seas. While we will explore these films in more detail later, it's important to note that the highest-grossing animated features at that time were all 3D computer animated, including hits like Shrek, Ice Age, and various Pixar productions. Although some 2D films still saw success, Treasure Planet's commercial failure symbolized the decline of the 2D format in the mainstream market. There are numerous online theories suggesting that Disney deliberately allowed Treasure Planet to fail so they could justify a full transition to 3D animation, but those remain speculative. Additionally, some observers have argued that pirate-themed movies were simply out of favor at the time, citing flops like Cutthroat Island and Sinbad: Legend of the Seven Seas as evidence. However, this theory is somewhat contradicted by the success of 2003's Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl, which also benefited from strong elements beyond its pirate theme, making it difficult to pinpoint a single cause. Another significant factor, contributing to Treasure Planet's poor box office performance, was intense competition from major franchises during its release window. It premiered shortly after Die Another Day and 2 weeks following Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, while also competing with Disney's own The Santa Claus 2. Notably, the Harry Potter and Santa Claus films targeted the same demographic as Treasure Planet, further splitting the audience. Unfortunately, Disney was unable to shift the release date because of a promotional agreement with McDonald's, which locked the film in for a November 27th debut, a year in advance, causing their extensive marketing efforts to backfire. Before sharing my personal thoughts, I want to briefly mention that a sequel was in development before the original film even hit theaters, with June Falkenstein attached to direct, and a script by Evan Spiliotopoulos. This sequel would have followed Jim Hawkins attending the Royal Interstellar Academy, where he meets another student named Kate, who would eventually become his love interest. Together they would team up with Long John Silver to thwart the villainous Ironbeard, who aimed to break other pirates out of prison. Willem Dafoe was even cast to voice Ironbeard, and the project progressed through script completion and storyboarding stages. Remarkably, just 30 minutes before Dafoe was set to begin recording, the team received notice that the sequel was cancelled due to the first film's disappointing box office results. For those interested, I'll provide a link in the description to an article that delves deeply into what the sequel's story would have entailed, as it is quite fascinating. Let me share some personal reflections on the film Treasure Planet. But first, for those who haven't seen it, here's a spoiler-filled summary of the story. The plot centers on Jim Hawkins, a young boy living alone with his mother, who dreams of a life filled with adventure and excitement. One day, a mysterious visitor arrives at their inn carrying an orb, which turns out to be a map to hidden treasure. However, pirates are after this orb. They kill the visitor and set fire to the inn, though Jim, his mother, and an eccentric scientist named Dr. Doppler manage to escape. Dr. Doppler decides to pursue the treasure and brings Jim along. They hire a ship and crew to journey to the treasure-filled planet, But neither Jim nor Dr. Doppler realizes that the crew is actually the disguised pirates from earlier. The pirates' leader, Long John Silver, masquerades as the ship's cook and takes Jim under his wing as a mentor. During their voyage, Silver and Jim form a close bond, with Silver becoming a father figure, which worries the rest of the pirate crew, fearing he's growing soft. Eventually, Silver leads a mutiny, forcing Jim, Dr. Doppler, and Captain Amelia to flee to Treasure Planet. There, they encounter a quirky navigation robot named BEN. While trying to find the treasure on their own, the heroes are confronted by the pirates, who force Jim to lead them to it. Upon finding the treasure, they discover it's heavily booby-trapped, resulting in most of it being destroyed before anyone can claim it. In a critical moment, Long John Silver faces a choice between saving a ship loaded with gold or saving Jim, and he chooses to save Jim. This act reveals that the true treasure may have been the friendships forged during their journey. The pirates are captured, but Silver escapes, leaving Jim some treasure to help rebuild his mother's inn. The movie concludes with Jim heading off to the Interstellar Academy, ending on a joyful dance party, wrapping up the story on a high note. I really enjoyed this movie and would have happily watched 2 sequels and even another one 9 years later, despite the story reaching a satisfying conclusion that wrapped up the main narrative arcs in a fulfilling way. The nostalgia factor played a significant role for me, as this series was a beloved part of my childhood, and revisiting this universe through sequels would have been a deeply satisfying experience, bringing back fond memories while expanding on the world and characters I had grown attached to. One of my favorite aspects of the film is its rich and immersive world building, which goes far beyond the typical sci-fi fare by creating a vivid, lived-in universe that feels authentic and full of history. Each pirate character is distinct and memorable, crafted with the same care and attention to detail as Davy Jones' crew in Pirates of the Caribbean, where every character possesses a unique design, personality, and backstory that make them stand out individually rather than blending into a generic group. The movie strikes a perfect balance between sci-fi elements and swashbuckling adventure, weaving the two genres together seamlessly so that neither feels out of place or forced, but instead complement one another to create a thrilling and original story. We are treated to an exciting Braving the Storm sequence that is packed with tension and adrenaline, showcasing the perilous and unpredictable nature of the high seas and space. And the character's daring escape is as edge-of-your-seat exhilarating as any classic pirate chase, all executed within a tight 90-minute runtime that never feels slow or filler-heavy. While the first 30 minutes do feel a bit rushed as the plot sets up quickly and jumps from one event to the next, the pacing overall maintains strong momentum and keeps the viewer engaged throughout. The score deserves special mention for capturing the adventurous spirit of the film perfectly, with sweeping orchestral melodies that evoke the grandeur and excitement of exploration and danger on the open cosmic ocean. Visually, the film is stunning, blending 2D and 3D animation beautifully in a way that enhances the storytelling rather than distracting from it. The ships themselves are incredible feats of design, each with unique shapes and intricate details that bring them to life. And the action sequences are exhilarating and well choreographed, delivering satisfying thrills without overdoing the spectacle. Jim Hawkins is a decent protagonist, approachable and relatable, though not especially extraordinary, while Long John Silver truly stands out, delivering a fantastic voice performance that brings depth and nuance to the character. Silver's rich character arc and the believable father-son relationship he develops with Jim provide the emotional grounding that elevates the film, making their interactions feel genuine and heartfelt. The bonding montage, set to a Goo Goo Dolls song, was perfectly chosen, enhancing the emotional resonance of their growing connection. However, I wasn't as fond of the comic relief characters, particularly Dr. Doppler and BEN, with BEN feeling especially forced and overly loud. He lacked the quick wit and clever humor one typically expects from such a role, which made his presence more distracting than amusing. Despite this, his character design is undeniably cool and visually appealing. Doppler and Captain Amelia, during the climax, and introducing a forced romance subplot, felt unnecessary and detracted somewhat from the story's focus. Despite these minor flaws, I genuinely enjoyed the movie and believe it deserves its reputation as an underrated classic. Not a masterpiece, but certainly unfairly regarded as a commercial failure given its quality and the care put into its production. That's all for now, so let's wrap up. Treasure Planet became one of Disney's biggest flops due to poor marketing, tough box office competition, failure to attract female audiences, the decline of 2D animation, a huge budget, and other issues. The planned sequel was scrapped, costing Disney millions. Despite this, the film has endured and found a dedicated audience over time. That's the story behind Disney's ambitious but unsuccessful project. What did you think of the movie? Have you seen it? Did it deserve more recognition? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next week. Here's a hint about next week's video.